Enjoy this visual demonstration from Synthrotek.com.
Hi, this is Steve with Synthrotek, and today we are showing off here a little demo of our 308 Eurorack distortion module. It's a clone with some additions of a Proco RAT distortion, LM308 style distortion. As you can see here, there's also some dip switches that allow you to add either germanium or silicone clipping or both. There's also some trim pots, which we'll get into. But first, I'm just going to kind of show you how this works in relation to the CV input over drive. The three different controls we have on this module are tone, filter, and drive. Tone turned clockwise increases the sharpness of the tone. Filter clockwise introduces a low-pass filter into the circuit here, and drive, turned all the way clockwise here now, increases the amount of distortion and drive into the circuit. So first we're going to show sort of how this works in relation to a pretty pure sine wave coming in from my Pittsburgh filter. As you can see here, if I change that, you can see on my oscilloscope I've got two different waveforms. The blue waveform is the sine wave coming in unaltered, so you can kind of see how that looks, and then the yellow waveform here is what's coming directly out of the 308, so you can kind of see how it clips in relation to the clean signal. And we'll have some audio so you can see what that sounds like. So first off, we're going to kind of show you how the CV works in here to control the drive, and that's the only CV function there is on here. So we've got a 5-volt signal coming out of the sequence 8, and that is going into the CV input. And as we turn down the amount of voltage, you're going to see the drive and distortion go up. So check this out. Keep looking at the yellow waveform there, and you can see how as we give less voltage, it really starts to clip and do some interesting things with distortion here. Let's move this down a little bit so you can see that. So again, as we're taking away voltage, that's how we see our clipping here. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. So again, the yellow signal here is what's coming out of the 308, and the blue sine wave here is what's coming directly out of the Pittsburgh filter in oscillator mode. So as we take away voltage, you can see that the distortion and the clipping goes up. As we turn it clockwise and give it like full 5 volts, it's a little distorted depending on how we have the tone or whatever set, or the drive initially set. But as you can see, it's a little bit different of a waveform going through it without any CV. However, it's still a pretty typical sine wave and sounds similar. So let's hear what it sounds like when we have full voltage applied, 5 volts here to the CV input, and the sine wave isn't very distorted from typically what's going into it. Okay, so this is the sound of our sine wave not going through the 308, just naked out of the Pittsburgh filter. Now let's turn up the 308 here, what that's doing. Well, you can't really hear that. It's not as loud, A. And secondly, it doesn't really sound that different. So as we back off the CV here, give it less control voltage, we're going to start to see this go up and start to clip and get louder. Okay, so let's turn that down. This is our dry signal here. And now again here we have our clip signal. Let's lower the frequency a little bit. Okay, again, no voltage really coming out of our control voltage. As we add control voltage, it just really starts to turn more siney and is smoother. Okay, and you can see how those waveforms differ. And again, this is out of a clean sine wave right now, and so you can see and hear the difference of what that clipping's doing. Let's now turn the tone knob all the way counterclockwise, so it's really sharp. The filter is going to be counterclockwise, where we have none of the low-pass filter in there, and the drive is all the way up. And that's kind of where you want it to be if you're going to be using control voltage with the 308. You initially want to turn it all the way clockwise, and then use your control voltage to change the amount of drive in the circuit. So let's turn it up here again. This is going to be our. Let's turn it up so we can hear a little better. A little higher frequency. That is again our dry signal, dry sine wave. Let's turn that down. Let's bring up our driven signal. So as you can hear, it gets more kind of squarey, and it definitely is clipped. And again, as we add control voltage and take it away, we see how it modulates. So we're also going to put it through the maths just to see what happens there too with that. Okay, so that's a clean sine wave. Okay, now we're going to be using our APC as our main audio signal, and that's going through the 308 and also going in dry. The blue signal is our dry APC, and the yellow signal here is going through the 308. So let's hear just the dry signal here first. Okay, that's just where we're at with the APC. Turn that down, and this is it's going to be a little quieter initially, but let's start adding some drive to it. Add some tone. Sure cranks it, and it also just really changes the waveform. Let's add the filter to it now, a little low-pass filter. The low-pass filter really starts to round things off. That low pass all the way out, it's going to get more defined. Interesting harmonics there. Okay, now we're using the maths to give us a modulation source here, and that's going into the CV input of the 308 here, as you can see. And you can also see this on the oscilloscope, but I haven't turned it up yet. So this is the dry signal again of the Pittsburgh filter sine wave without modulation, without going through the 308. So that's just our dry signal. Let's turn that down. And now let's turn up our wet signal here through the 308. And as I adjust the tone, things will change a little bit, a little less sharp. A lot of tone, extra sharp, and extra harmonics. Now let's also add a little bit of that filter into there. It's going to round things off a little more. Let's turn the frequency down of the sine wave going into there. You can get some nice squashy sounds. Turn the filter up, a little low passy, bring it back. A little less tone. A little sharper. Higher frequencies. Turn the drive down, it's not going to modulate. Okay, that's the sine wave from the Pittsburgh filter being modulated with the CV source of the 308. Okay, now we have this plugged into our APC, and again, the blue line here is the dry signal that we have from the APC, and the yellow is our distorted and modulated waveform coming out of the 308. So let's just hear the dry signal here again. Square wavy. Let's turn that off. Let's bring this up now. And let's mess with some of the controls. Let's mess with the tone here. The tone really adds a lot of harmonics here, fully clockwise. Add the low pass filter, just kind of round it off a little bit. So as you can see, it's boosting the signal and it's also distorting it quite a bit.